did you do a study to talk about how many African Americans and how many Hispanics within the city of Richmond are obese at this time in this obesity law?
We have estimates of those for the city of Richmond. Those estimates are based, I want to be very clear, we have
Right.
good data about the kids. For the adults, it's more estimates. Those estimates are based on the survey data that exists for the Bay Area and for California, based on ethnicity, and then using the ethnic distribution in the city of Richmond. So those percentages for African Americans and Hispanics are similar. I mean, they're basically the similar kinds of percentages that we see in the Bay Area and California as a whole. It's not the city of Richmond that's really different than the rest of the state. But in the city of Richmond, we have a high concentration of low-income and minority people. So we have a particularly high rates of obesity. We see it very specifically in the Richmond children. We know it's there in the Richmond adults, and it leads to higher rates of disease.
How did you do your study, the difference between low income and obese children? What did you use? How did you just knock on people's door and say, hey, are you low income? Or did they give you a form? Or
We didn't.
Or is it just something you guessed at?
We don't have the income of the children. The children obesity data is based on the schools, and it's just reported by school and ethnicity. It's not reported by income. But we do know what schools are in the low-income areas, and which schools have the high percentage of reduced and subsidized lunch, which is a real marker for the income of the population in those schools. And we do know we all know in this room where the low-income areas are in the county and in the city.
You know, Dr. Brunner, I tend to differ with you on that. Some people that go to low-income schools probably have more money than you got in the bank. And so, you know, I think that's not a fair analogy.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I want to talk to you about is, you remember the McDonald's toy thing in San Francisco?
Yeah.
Okay, and they were going to charge for the toys, so they told them to discontinue them totally, but they did charge for them. And they
Right.
charged 10 cents a toy.
Right.
They didn't change anything. All they did was cause them to pay 10 cents more. I go along with Councilman Bates just a minute ago. You're putting a tax on poor people. And I take back, I'm a little incensed that you have an obesity law for obese people, because you know what? I know a lot of people that are healthy. I'm not really sure you call them obese. I know when I was going to junior high school, some of the ladies that you might be calling obese, we thought were pretty big-legged women. So, I mean, you know, and I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm just saying that the way you categorize the people, I just would like to know on what channels or what criteria that you actually can put in front of me to ask the taxpayers of Richmond to pay all this money to put this on a ballot. And before I leave you, matter of fact, Mr. City Manager, how much would it cost us to make this a ballot measure, roughly? I know you don't know right now, but just roughly.
That actually might be best addressed to the city clerk if I can put her on the spot. She knows more about the election costs than I do.
The cost, if it's on the November ballot next year, we would consolidate with other jurisdictions. And then the cost would be based on the number of registered voters we have in November of next year. So, for instance, last year our actual election cost us around $50,000 because we consolidated. Now this past June, when we were standing alone, we paid over $200,000 for that ballot measure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen of the public, I want you to listen to what she just said. You got a 50,000 on the low and 100,000 on the, or 200,000 on the high, and you're not going to change anything, and you're going to call your kids obese, obesity tax. It's terrible to me. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councilmember Rogers.